soon, it's too late. Call 800-432-4489. 800-432-4489.
If you're on Medicare or retiring soon, making sure you have the right Medicare coverage is important. So call United Healthcare and take advantage of a wide choice of plans, including an AARP Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. It can combine your hospital and doctor coverage with prescription drug coverage and more, all for a low monthly premium, or in some areas, no plan premium at all. Take advantage of $0 copays on all primary care doctor visits, all virtual visits, and preventive dental care. Plus $0 copays on hundreds of prescriptions. And with Renew Active, enjoy a free gym membership. So call United Healthcare and take advantage of the variety of plans we offer, including PPO plans that let you see any doctor who accepts Medicare without a referral. If you're on Medicare or retiring soon, call United Healthcare or go online today.
There were some promising developments today in the effort to ramp up vaccine production and distribution here in the U.S. The Biden administration will start delivering a limited number of vaccines to pharmacies, starting with 1 million doses next week to 6,500 stores across the country. It's a huge nod to states who turned to pharmacies for help administering vaccines when the Trump administration left them to figure out distribution on their own. Some news that might help reach the Biden administration's vaccination goals in the long run. Pfizer is moving up its delivery of 200 million doses from July to the end of May. And a new study suggests that people who have had COVID may only need 1 dose of the vaccine because of their remarkably high antibodies after the first shot. That's about 26.5 million Americans, to put it in perspective. Let's bring into our conversation MSNBC medical contributor, Dr. Nicolle Wallace, infectious diseases physician and medical director of the Special Pathogens Unit at Boston Medical Center. This is becoming the story of 2021 on COVID. Against the backdrop of tragic numbers of lives lost, science is delivering some reasons for us to remain hopeful.
That's right, Nicolle. And this study makes sense immunologically, because when you get an infection, what your body's doing is creating antibodies to all parts of the virus. And what the vaccine does is it helps you build antibodies to the very effective part of the virus that helps you defeat it. And so when you get a vaccine after a natural infection, you're likely to have your body react to that part of the protein that the vaccine is trying to get you to build immunity against. So a couple of studies now that have shown that people who've had SARS-CoV-2 infection or COVID-19 in the past could have a stronger antibody response. They do sort of, give me heart. I do think, though, that it's unlikely in the near term that the FDA may change its guidance for 2 reasons. One, I think these studies were small. 2, I think it's hard to actually confirm in many cases people have had the infection before or not. And the vaccine trials, of course, were built with some people who had the infection before. And so the composite number that we see already includes that as a population.
Dr. Bedelia, President Biden said that by the end of the summer, he hoped to have 300 million Americans vaccinated. Do you see the announcements of more supply and more production and supply being pushed out through the pharmacies as a sign that that could slide back, that we could reach that goal sooner?
Well, I really hope so. I mean, and there are a couple other things aside from what you mentioned in the headlines. There's Moderna also announced that, one of the restricting factors in getting more doses out for them is that they've been putting 10 doses. But if they could put up to 15 doses in each of their vials, the packaging and the capping is what's taking some of the effort. They might be able to get more doses out. So I don't know how many more they potentially have, in the factory, but that could increase the number of doses. They're presenting that to the FDA. So that's one part. But the reason it's necessary, I just feel, Nicolle, like there's more data even today from UK that shows that the variant, the B117 that's prevalent there, in some of those samples has now gotten the mutation that the 2 other more deadly variants have, which make them evade, immune therapies and potentially decrease the efficacy of vaccine. And all it says is that these viruses, once they get these initial mutations, makes it easier for them to get subsequent mutations. So it's like a race. On the left, you have what we have to do is just increase the number of vaccination, more doses, more vaccinators, more sites, more education. On the right, we have to decrease the transmission. Everything we can do, decrease indoor capacity, the high quality masks, the no travel, the rapid test. And that's basically how we get to the other side of this. And by the way, March and April, or rather February and March, I think, are potentially the most tenuous periods, because I think this is when we have the most amount of vulnerable people who are not vaccinated. And hopefully, as more people get vaccinated, that mortality and hospitalization will go down.
Just really quick, I mean, do you think that these vaccines they're giving out now will be totally different from the ones they give out a year from now based on what you're seeing in terms of the mutations?
I think that we probably will need boosters, as others have said. If you were to, again, don't hold me to this, but it's likely that we might have to keep potentially doing annual or biannual boosters of these vaccines. But, from what we know with just vaccine science, over time, as you build immunity, at least if you end up getting the infection again, even if these vaccines become less and less effective, hopefully the severity of illness is lower. And so you could get to a position like we are with the flu, where you might end up getting the disease, but hopefully it's less severe than what we're seeing right now, because none of us, or majority of us, are not immune to it yet.
Dr. Bedelia, thank you so much for spending some time with us and helping us make sense of all this. When we return, as we do every day, we will remember lives well lived.
We made USAA insurance for members like Martin, an Air Force veteran made of doing what's right, not what's easy. So when a hailstorm hit, USAA reached out before he could even inspect the damage.
That's how you do it right.
USAA insurance is made just the way Martin's family needs it. With hassle-free claims, he got paid before his neighbor even got started. Because doing right by our members, that's what's right. USAA. What you're made of, we're made for.
USAA. Some companies still have HR stuck between employees and their data. Entering data, changing data, more and more sensitive personal data. And it doesn't just drag HR down, it drags the entire business down with inefficiency, errors, and waste. It's ridiculous. So ridiculous. With Paycom, employees enter and manage their own data in a single, easy-to-use software. Visit paycom.com and schedule your demo today.
What would have happened?
Same for me. I know my Shriners Hospital's family will continue to take care of kids like us who need them most. All because of caring people like you.
Like me?
No, the people watching us right now at home.
Oh, those people! Hi, people!
Caleb and I know not everyone can help right now. But for those of you who can, we hope you'll call the special number on your screen right now.
You'll be making sure our amazing doctors and nurses can keep helping kids like us who need them now and in the days to come.
Your gift will make a huge difference for kids like us.
Ooh, show them the thank you gift.
Okay, hold on a second. With your gift of $19 a month, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you and a reminder of the kids you're helping with your monthly support.
So what are you waiting for? You can use your phone and call, or go to lunchrunners.org to give and join with thousands of other generous people who change lives with their gifts every day.
I think that's about it, buddy. Good job.
My pleasure, Captain. Please call now. If operators are busy with all the other caring people, please wait patiently. Or you can go to lunchrunners.org to give right away.
Big or small, your gift helps us all. Thank you.
We need to reduce plastic waste in the environment. Not all plastic is the same.
We're carefully designing our bottles to be 100% recyclable, including the caps.
They're collected and separated from other plastics,
So they can be turned back into material that we use to make new bottles.
That completes the circle and reduces plastic waste.
Please help us get every bottle back.
I'm delighted that the effort that we set up for such a small sum has turned into this enormous sum of money, and the cause is so good. From that point of view, I'm delighted that we've got so much money for such a good cause.
Profound charm and a world-class heart. They called him Captain Tom, the British World War II veteran who earned global distinction for a pledge he made last year. 100 laps around his garden before his 100th birthday to raise money for the UK's National Health Service amid the pandemic. The goal, 1,000 pounds sterling, about $1,200. But the fundraiser caught fire, and Captain Tom, an inspiration, earned some $41 million in the end. His charitable campaign also earned him a knighthood from the Queen herself at Windsor Castle. But even after he became captain, Sir Thomas More, he never let go of his trademark phrase that we should, quote, always remember, tomorrow will be a good day. Over the weekend, he was admitted to the hospital, and he tested positive for COVID-19. This morning, we learned Captain Sir Thomas More passed peacefully in the loving company of his family at the age of 100. His namesake foundation said it perfectly, a beacon of light every single day. Thank you, Sir Tom. Because of you, tomorrow will be a good day for so many more. We will be right back.
From last quarter, but we're hoping things will pick up by Q3. Yeah.
Doug?
Sorry about that. What? It's.
You all right?
Never settle with Power E-Trade. It has powerful, easy-to-use tools to help you find opportunities, 24/7 support when you need answers, plus some of the lowest options and futures contract prices around. Don't get mad. Get E-Trade and start trading today.
The following is a car warranty alert. If you're driving without an auto warranty or it's close to expiring, you could be at risk of expensive auto repairs that could cost you thousands. CarShield could qualify you for an auto protection plan that could save you from expensive auto repair bills. Choose the plan from CarShield that's right for you, so you won't have to pay for covered repairs. No more worrying if you can afford a breakdown. No more expensive parts and labor. No vehicle inspection. No credit checks. Plus, you can pick any ASE certified mechanic or dealership to fix your car. You also receive roadside assistance, rental car coverage, and hotel reimbursement while traveling. Breakdowns happen, but you don't have to get stuck with expensive repair bills. Don't put yourself or your wallet at risk. CarShield cars go farther. Call CarShield now for your free instant quote.
Call 800-231-3501. 800-231-3501.
When we started Carvana, they told us that selling cars 100% online wouldn't work. But we went to work, building an experience that lets you shop over 17,000 cars from home, creating a coast-to-coast network to deliver your car as soon as tomorrow, recruiting an army of customer advocates to make your experience incredible, and putting you in control of the whole thing with powerful technology. That's why we've become the nation's fastest-growing retailer, because our customers love it. See for yourself at Carvana.com.
It's hard to believe that Brava can go from 0 to 500 degrees in under 1 second. Or that it precisely cooks 3 different ingredients at the same time. It's hard to believe that Brava tells you when your perfectly seared steaks are ready. Or that it roasts a whole chicken in half the time. But seeing is believing. And when you cook with Pure Light, the difference is as clear as day. See for yourself at Brava.com.
This is what you live for. And the last thing you want to think about is your bank account. The Bears got your back. Dave. Banking for humans. Download now.
History says, find jewelry for occasions. We say, forget occasions. Find jewelry for every day. Minus the traditional markups.
Thank you so much for letting us into your homes during these extraordinary times. We're grateful. The Beat with Ari Melber starts right now. Hi, Ari.
Hi, Nicole. Thanks so much, and welcome to The Beat. I am Ari Melber, and we're reporting on several developments tonight. President Biden issuing new orders on immigration, House Democrats filing their first brief in this looming Senate impeachment trial, making the case Trump betrayed the U.S. An impeachment veteran, Adam Schiff, joins us shortly. And by the end of this hour, I can tell you John Bon Jovi makes his Beat debut. We'll get into that. So we have a lot tonight, but we begin with breaking news out of the White House. President Biden using his executive power for 3 new big orders on immigration, showing he'll do what he can alone while pushing new reform in Congress as well. The centerpiece today is reversing Donald Trump's approach to immigration, launching a process for reuniting around 600 migrant children in the U.S. who remain separated from their parents under Donald Trump's hardline policies. Biden ordering the federal government to do a top-to-bottom breakdown of immigration policies and finding ways to root out measures that Biden's team says under Trump were cruel, inhumane, or just not working.
I'm not making new law. I'm eliminating bad policy. What I'm doing is taking on the issues that 99% of them that the last president of the United States, issued executive orders I thought were very counterproductive to our security, counterproductive to who we are as a country.
We want to put in place an immigration process here that is humane, that is moral. That's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight.
A moral policy, they say, pursuing an ethical approach to immigration with a timeline. Now, the administration says it's stopping the border wall. It's canceling that Middle Eastern travel ban. We knew about that. It's also trying to repair this damage they say has been done to families by the previous administration, including the treatment of children that many experts view as an ongoing human rights abuse done in the name of the United States. Now, these are first steps. They also struggle against a harsh reality that immigration is still one of the most complex areas of law and policy. Every move impacts people and foreign policy of multiple countries, and it's hard to do anything cohesive without the Congress. Take one large problem that has faced administrations in both parties, and by the way, is not just about Trumpism. I'm talking about the handling of asylum seekers from Central America. This goes back to multiple administrations. It's a tough problem. You can blame the countries that make it so hard for these people to live there, which is why they seek asylum, but blaming only gets you so far. President Biden says that the goal here in these new policies that I'm ticking off for you, one of the goals is to curb the extremes in an approach that mandated some of those migrants wait in squalid camps in Mexico as they seek asylum, leaving their home countries in Central America. But look at this tonight. The New York Times reporting the Biden order sets up a review that, quote, will not immediately address the reality that many of those migrants, including children, have been waiting for months in dangerous conditions already. That is just a tough part of the problem. And even apart from those humanitarian cases, let's remember, as it's Immigration Day in the Biden White House today, there are 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States right now that are awaiting some kind of plan when congressional Republicans have largely blocked efforts at comprehensive immigration reform. And that goes back as far as to when President Bush was calling for it, which we will get into in a few minutes. But these hurdles are a reminder that ending the construction of a failed, largely politically symbolic wall, or ending the use of immigration policy as a tool of alleged child abuse, while those are obviously steps, they don't really address in a measurable way what is the majority of the people affected by the ongoing failure to have immigration comprehensive policy reform in the United States. Now, to be fair, President Biden and his team are acknowledging many of the facts that I just reported to you. That's why they're also pushing a wider legislative plan. We have coverage on that momentarily. And they're also touting change starting at the top, including something, not only do you not see this every day, you have never seen it before, the first Latino and first immigrant to run DHS and border enforcement to be sworn in today. Joining us now is Erica Andiola from the immigration advocacy group Raices, also a veteran, we should mention, of the Sanders 2016 campaign, and a DACA recipient herself, and Juanita Tolliver, a Democratic strategist and analyst for us here on The Beat. Good to be with both of you tonight, kicking us off. We'll get to the legislative piece. On the orders and the diagnosis I shared, Erica, your thoughts on all the above?
Yeah, well, it's a start. I was expecting, and at the organization that I work with, Raices, we're expecting there was going to be a lot more announced today. As far as the task force, look, that's a great first step. We need to make sure that this task force is not just reunifying the families who are separated. We know that there's more than 600 of them that we know of, but that they are reunited in the United States, right? That we're not expecting for people to be, back in the country that they left, seeking asylum in the United States. And also that we are ensuring that the families who remain separated because of deportations in the United States are also being taken care of, and that we have some ability for people who were separated because of zero tolerance to be in the United States with some sort of protection from deportation. And at Raíces, right now, we have a case of a young man who right now is in detention, was separated from his 9-year-old child. He was actually 6 years old in 2018. They were separated for 2 months, and his dad is now back in detention. And he's about to be deported again. So to us, it's important that we look at this beyond just the reunification of the families that were mentioned. And that is a much bigger effort also to end MPP and to end all of the Trump policies that right now have people waiting in Mexico and all of the others being deported and detained.
Juanita?
Yeah, I think Erica hit the nail on the head and by saying that this is a start. But I think where the White House is falling short for advocates is really around the fact that there's no response or stopgap measures available to all the people who still need that comprehensive reform. We saw in the proposal that Biden shared with Congress on Inauguration Day, it was sweeping reform that had a pathway to citizenship for 11 million undocumented individuals. But what we don't see in this moment is, okay, how are we providing restitution for the families who are separated? How are we meeting the needs of the individuals who are waiting at the border right now for their asylum and refugee applications? How are we meeting their needs in real time? Because what we're hearing out of the White House is that those needs won't be met until this review is done, which is months from now. So I think those assurances that advocates require right now are completely valid. I think the concerns are completely valid, and what they're communicating to the White House in this moment is, you remember that proposal you sent to Congress? Keep that same energy. We want sweeping proposals, we want sweeping responses and solutions to an overall system that needs to be overhauled.
Right, and I think anything that involves a federal review, you say, oh, that's 6 months, that's 12 months to then get action, then you're a year out from the midterms. There's an understandable desire to do a lot right away. Our panel stays as we turn to the other thing I promised everyone, because the details do matter. A lot of lives hang in the balance. Wider reforms that they're pushing here legislatively. The Biden administration has this new bill. We just mentioned part of it. It would create a path to citizenship for 11 million undocumented immigrants. And while this would be far more than the current limbo that they're in, the proposal is not exactly easy. The path takes longer than most grad school, 5 years to get a green card to work, another 3 for them to become citizens. It would also enable more visitors who are already here and graduate from U.S. universities to stay. The new Biden bill also tries to address some of this foreign crisis I mentioned, what makes this such a difficult issue no matter who's running the United States. It would add some aid to countries in Central America where the local issues with poverty and violence are part of what drives people to flee, no matter how high the risks may look on the road through Mexico to the United States. The bill doesn't say exactly how much should be spent on new Border Patrol initiatives. It would also explore how DHS technology can do border enforcement. Now, while the Trump administration has made many moves through executive power on this issue, it didn't even try to pass any kind of immigration bill. That's one of the many examples where the hard work involved apparently was a barrier to that administration. It's a contrast, we should note, to the previous 2 administrations before Trump in both parties, where presidents tried to get a deal through Congress, although neither did.
As a nation that values immigration and depends on immigration, we should have immigration laws that work and make us proud. Legal immigration is one of the top concerns of the American people, and Congress's failure to act on it is a disappointment.
That's why I'm committed to passing comprehensive immigration reform as President of the United States. Both parties wrote this legislation, but Republicans blocked it. The bill hasn't really changed. The only thing that has changed, apparently, was the politics.
Erica, you're such an expert on this, and we put that together to give everyone clarity that while looking through our national politics at Washington in the Trump era was often like looking through a smashed window. And so you could see all these problems. You take that away, right, and you still have a recent history for those who have lived through it where Congress has basically said no to both parties. Your view of why that is important for the Biden folks to find some other way if they want to get a breakthrough, because I'll tell you from a legal perspective, you can't leave this kind of limbo, the 11 million and other things, for decades on end and expect anything good to come of it. And I say that as sort of a non-ideological observation.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. We have been promised by both parties for decades now, Ari, for decades, that there's going to be some sort of path to citizenship for people like myself, like my family, and many others in this country. And what is important for us is not just the details of the bill, but also how are they going to get it done, right? And in this moment, to me, the fact that they're trying to do all this bipartisan work with Republicans just tells me that there's going to be more, honestly, a lot more delays on what can happen on immigration. And so we're really asking Democrats at this moment to keep that promise, right? And that Democrats can do it on their own. There's many ways for this to happen. And, one of them is the reconciliation process, as an example, that we still have a lot to go through, right? And so we know that, Senator Sanders is going to be the new budget chair committee and the chair of the committee. And, him and many others in the leadership of the Democratic Party have the ability to ensure that there is protections for immigrants in these bills that can be passed without Republicans, right? And so they need to keep their promise. And not just, again, it's not just about the details of the bill, which the bill is there's a lot of really great things in the bill that was sent to Congress, but also we need to see something actually happen and not just the promise again.
All such important points. I've got Congressman Adam Schiff standing by, so I have to keep moving on one of these. It's that kind of news night, but I want to thank Erica Andiola and Juanita Tolliver for kicking us off. Let me tell everyone where we're headed on the other big story, because the Trump trial prosecutors are now for the first time revealing what they say is the evidence that should merit the conviction of Donald Trump and thus barring him from ever holding office again. This is a brand new brief. It states that Trump has responsibility for the January 6th insurrection, that it was, quote, unmistakable and a betrayal of historic proportions. It argues his actions threatened the lives of senior government officials. Some of those are, of course, Senate jurors. The impeachment managers add the evidence is overwhelming. They say Trump is, quote, responsible for inciting the riot, that he aimed a loaded cannon, quote unquote, at the Capitol. Trump's defense is leaving the door open to go back maybe to the big election lie. But there's also a procedural argument here, and you're going to hear more about this in the days ahead. You got to hear both sides, as we always say, to understand a case. Well, maybe because Trump's lawyers don't want to spend much time on what he said in those hours leading up to the violent attack, they instead want to talk about history and constitutional process. And they have every right to mount this kind of defense. They are claiming the Senate cannot, quote, remove from office a man who does not hold office. This is false and misleading, given the way that impeachment has always worked. Indeed, you only bar people after they've been convicted and are out of office. House impeachment managers say, quote, there's no January exception to impeachment as a rebuttal to that procedural point. The larger argument here is that Donald Trump was president, was commander-in-chief. The buck stops there. And that what he said or did or didn't say or didn't do, because it's a trial and he's entitled to his defense, but all of that matters. It doesn't just stop because he was close to leaving office. Impeachment managers are also previewing, and we're learning about this in little bits of dribs and drabs, that they want to really use emotion to speak both to the senators and to a nation that may want to move on from some of this. They have video planned, perhaps witnesses. And the prosecutors argue, again, in this new brief that just came out tonight, if provoking a riot is not impeachable, it's hard to imagine what would be. It's a big question, and we have a very experienced guest to get into all of it. As I mentioned, tonight on The Beat, we have Congressman Adam Schiff. He was famously the lead impeachment manager at Donald Trump's first trial. We're going to get into all of this right after our shortest break in just 30 seconds.
Obsession has many names. This is ours, the new Lexus IS. All in on the sports sedan.
Lease the 2021 IS 300 for $359 a month for 39 months.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
Okay, Limu, you said it. Then as I spike it, I'll tell them how Liberty Mutual customizes car insurance, so they only pay for what they need. Got it? Did you get that? Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Joining me now is seasoned prosecutor and Congressman Adam Schiff. He was, of course, the lead impeachment manager in Donald Trump's first impeachment trial. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Great to have you. We can get into a lot of these legal arguments, what the Constitution says it means. I trust you and I will do that. But I want to begin with something more basic, a question that is on the mind of many Americans. Why would this time be any different than last?
Well, look, this is a very different presidential abuse. And in this case, you don't need the imagination of senators to wonder what it would be like to be on the Ukraine front lines with Russia and have military aid withheld in order to help the President of the United States cheat in an election. These senators were there. They were on the front lines as that mob was tearing through the Capitol. They're firsthand witnesses, in addition to everything else. And the core of what the president did in trying to interfere with a peaceful transfer of power, as the House Manager brief says, if that's not impeachable to incite an insurrection against that peaceful transfer, then nothing would be. This is clearly what the founders had in mind when they provided that remedy.
Do you think that Donald Trump acted in ways that make it a national security priority to prevent him from ever lawfully being president again, which is one of the remedies if there's a conviction?
Absolutely. You know, it was very apparent after the first trial that if he were left in office, that he would seek to cheat again, that he would do great damage to the country. It is equally plain now that if he is not disqualified from running for office again, then we can expect that if he runs in 4 years, he will put the country through the same hell, through the same lies about the election, through the same false claims of fraud if he loses, through the same incendiary rhetoric and incitement to violence. And that is a very direct threat to our country's security. And of course, it does immeasurable damage to our reputation abroad and the health of our democracy.
How important is it, in your view, that the trial speak to the rest of the country? Because the attack of the 6th was an insurrection. It was violent. There'll be memorials tonight for one of the Capitol officers who died, among 5 total people. It was a trauma, and yet there's so much going on. And people are, as you know, living through a recession and COVID and all this other stuff in 2021, that there's been a little bit of a mood of, okay, that was terrible, maybe we move right on. And yet next week, by virtue of this process, everyone's going to slow down and be hearing this again. What is important in your mind to tell the nation through this process next week, for those who say, well, yeah, it was terrible, we lived through it, we want to move on?
Well, that's a very important question, because the managers try this case not just to the senators, but perhaps even more importantly to the American people. And you don't start from the presumption that everyone knows all the facts. Indeed, we didn't start from the presumption that all the senators knew the facts in the last trial. One of the things that the manager's brief lays out so well today is the entire chronology, the narrative arc of this terrible tragedy, with the president saying before the election that he wouldn't accept it if he lost the election, with him making claims in advance that there was going to be massive fraud, with him challenging the election immediately, even when he understood, as we all did, that the first returns would not necessarily be indicative of who would win that state. His efforts to try to coerce local elections officials and then statewide election officials, his efforts in the courts all turned down, finally culminating in what he viewed as the last chance to stop the peaceful transfer of power, that is, bringing this mob into D.C., lighting the fuse, and setting this tragedy in motion. So that story needs to be told with the kind of clarity that you can in a trial. Number one, because the senators need to do their constitutional duty and disqualify him. But number two, if they don't, the American people need to have a basis to hold their senators accountable, but also they need to know the danger of this man going forward should he ever try to run again.
Yeah, and that really goes to, as you say, what he did. He publicly summoned people to come on January 6th. Not a random day, not a rally day, no, to come and try to pressure what would ultimately be a legal and violent insurrection pressure on that final step in certifying his loss there in the Senate, as I think we all remember. We lived through it. I want to play for you something that may or may not come up in evidence, but it's certainly damning, which is those people explaining why they were there. Take a look.
Our president, President Donald Trump, asked us to go to the march on the 6th, and he said, be there. And so I went, and I answered the call of my president. I felt like my presence on the state capitol steps, on those ivory steps, was more important to me than my very life.
How does that fit into the argument that Donald Trump intentionally, deliberately incited the insurrection?
Well, it'll be up to the managers to decide of the volume of evidence which they want to present. But statements like that people that participated understood exactly what the president was telling them to do, and perhaps even more powerfully, the video of people during the insurrection yelling out that they were there because the president had told them they could or should. That's a very powerful evidence that, in fact, the president incited them to this insurrection. So I think it is very relevant, important evidence. Now, some of the lawyers watching might say, well, can you introduce that, or is that hearsay? It's up to the senators to decide what evidence they will accept and what weight to give that evidence. But all of this is certainly relevant to the abuse of the president's power.
Yeah, and the final question I want to ask you, I'm not making light of this, Congressman, but you've tangled with Donald Trump, and I think you've seen he has a penchant for being often his own worst advocate. That's why he was banned from Twitter over this same incident. And yet it may help him in the long run because we won't hear as many incriminating things as quickly, necessarily. And so I'm curious, apart from the defenses that he and his team have started to raise, many of which are really weak, what about the more serious argument that people in office, you, Donald Trump, future presidents, they need a very wide latitude to speak. And that while this is not a traditional First Amendment case, and there are nuances to that, we have historically said that they can say all kinds of things, and that you really don't want to set too much of a precedent where words alone can convict, remove, or bar an official. Your response to that?
Well, people need to understand that there's not a First Amendment defense to inciting an insurrection or to abusing the power of your office. If a president says to a foreign power secretly that I will do anything you want because I want to build a tower in Moscow, that's not protected by the First Amendment simply because he vocalizes his corrupt intent. If the president were to engage in bribery and did so through vocalization of the terms of the bribe, that's not protected by the First Amendment. And if you incite people to attack the Capitol, that's not protected either. So it's a false argument. I think it has a superficial kind of appeal to people who don't necessarily understand what's the role of the First Amendment in an impeachment proceeding. But the long and the short of it is there is no First Amendment defense to ignoring and violating your constitutional duty. And even if there were, there is no First Amendment protected ability to incite an attack on the Capitol.
Plainly put, and important to get all of the sides as everyone's got to digest this because Lord knows it's important and lives were lost and the accountability part is not over. Congressman Schiff, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We have a lot more in the program, including going from Adam Schiff to John Bon Jovi. That's how we do it on The Beat. This is his debut on the program. We're excited for that later this hour. But coming up, Michael Steele on the Republican infighting that has Mitch McConnell warning one of his own members of his new party is causing a cancer, and charges for Capitol rioters as AOC reveals new and harrowing details about what she experienced inside that building.
Got my hair, got my head, got my brains, got my ears, got my heart, got my soul, got my mouth,
Facing leaks takes strength. So here's to the strong who trust in our performance and comfortable, long-lasting protection. Because your strength is supported by ours. Depend. The only thing stronger than us is you.
At Philadelphia, we know what makes the perfect smear of cream cheese. You need only the freshest milk and cream. That one. And the world's best, and possibly only, Chamelier. Philadelphia. Schmear perfection.
Hello, how can I... Sore throat pain? Try new Vicks VapoCool Drops and Honey Lemon Chill for a fast-acting rush of relief like you've never tasted in... Honey Lemon. Woo! Vicks Vapor Cool Drops, now in Honey Lemon Chill.
Repair your enamel with Pronamel Repair. Our most advanced formula helps you brush in vital minerals to actively repair and strengthen enamel. So you don't just brush to clean, you brush to build. Pronamel Intensive Enamel Repair.
It's amazing to see him in the wild like this.
For those who were born to ride, there's Progressive.
At Jackson Hewitt, we offer safe and easy ways to file with a skilled tax pro. Securely drop off your documents, have them picked up, or upload them and work with a tax pro online from home. Safe and easy ways to file that work around you.
We're taking trucks to places they've never been before, so they can be trusted like never before. By redefining quality and luxury, taking safety to new heights, earning award-winning driver appeal, and by doing what's never been done before, being named Motor Trend's Truck of the Year 3 years in a row.
Now get $6,300 in total values plus $500 bonus cash on the 2021 Ram 1500.
We're done with disposables. Introducing Super Leak-Proof underwear from Knix. The most absorbent period undies ever. They look and feel and machine wash just like regular underwear. Leave that trash behind. Switch to Super Leak-Proof underwear at Knix.com.
What if you could cook amazing food with very little effort every night? Brava simplifies the art of cooking so that you can make time for the things that matter most. Visit Brava.com for more information.
I've been having stomach troubles. It's either yogurt, pork, or citrus. Or almonds. Or maybe it's cinnamon. Now, I could start by removing a lot of things from my diet and adding them back in one at a time until I find the culprit. Or I could find out what might actually be bothering me before removing and adding foods back in again. I'm gonna do that.
House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy is set to meet behind closed doors with a very controversial brand new freshman Congresswoman, Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is supposed to happen soon, as early as tonight. The Republican Party has a problem here. Pressure to punish or sanction her in some way for what we're about to show you, as well as there are wider calls to remove her from committees, like the Education and Budget committees, or even more, some talk about what else could be done when you have a known promoter of really vile conspiracy theories, some of them dangerous. She suggested that school shootings and the Parkland shooting were just staged, which is widely viewed as not only false, but highly disrespectful to the many lives lost. There are other inflammatory and conspiratorial comments as well.
The resource officer at Parkland had done his job, then Nicholas Cruz wouldn't have killed anybody in your high school.
There is an Islamic invasion into our government offices right now.
We had witnessed 9/11, right? We had witnessed 9/11, the terrorist attack. It's odd. There's never any evidence shown for a plane in the Pentagon. But anyways, I'm not going to dive into the 9/11 conspiracy.
Now, the pressure on Republican leader McCarthy has been ratcheting up, including from within the Republican Party. Take Mitch McConnell, who's rebuking her now. He didn't name the Congresswoman, but he denounced QAnon conspiracies as, quote, loony lies. Senator McConnell says this is a cancer for the Republican Party and our country. McConnell also, in a sign of what is going on between different Republican leaders, is supporting Liz Cheney, who was one of the only members of Republican leadership who formally voted to impeach Donald Trump. He notes that she's still a leader with deep convictions and the courage to act on them. It's tension within the Republican Party. It relates to Trump and Trumpism, but it goes well beyond. Some are supporting Taylor Greene. Some want to remove Cheney from House leadership for that vote I mentioned. Democrats now say Greene should at least be banned from committee positions, and that would be a lawful remedy. Indeed, remember, we have seen people from both parties stripped of committee assignments based on their conduct in the past. We're joined now by the former RNC chairman, Michael Steele, who endorsed Joe Biden for president. Thanks for being here.
It's good to be back with you, man.
You know, this is much bigger than Trump, although he may have been the gasoline and then some. But he's out of office. She's not. And the embrace of lies on the one hand and then hate, vile, racism, anti-Semitism, 9/11 didn't happen, all that kind of congeals together. How big do you think this is in the current Republican Party, and what do you think of the different leaders' approaches?
It's a very big deal, and anyone who tries to diminish it and say that, oh, well, it's just, you know, an intra-party thing and it'll just be, you know, pushed aside, they're full of it. They're missing what's happening in this moment. What will define it is how, and we've already seen part of it with McConnell, where he couldn't even call the woman's name, Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? He can say Lynn Cheney. He can say Liz Cheney, rather, but he can't say Marjorie Taylor Greene. So, okay, just call the thing what it is, you know? Use the name and call her out. So you have that in the Senate. On the House side, you're going to have this meeting, which, okay, you're going to have it privately. But what matters is what is said after the meeting and what punishment, and there should be punishment, that's given to this Congresswoman for her actions and her words. And the reality of it is, I suspect you're not going to get a lot out of this. This is not going to be that dramatic, and that's because they don't want it to. They are still looking over their shoulders at that base, and that portion of the base that is particularly still very much aligned and locked in with Donald Trump. So as McConnell could not say Marjorie Taylor Greene's name, I do not see McCarthy doing much better than that.
That bothered you, Michael?
Very much so. Call it out. I mean, you don't get past this, Ari, unless you admit what the problem staring you in the face is. You cannot turn a blind eye to it and pretend it's not there. And that Marjorie Taylor Greene's just going to go slink back into her district, you know, when it's time to go home for the weekend, and we're all just going to be kumbaya. She clearly stalked a teenager who was involved in a horrific shooting and accused him of being, you know, weak. Then, of course, all the other stuff that was now coming out about what she was saying before she got to Congress. Call it what it is, put the name on it, and clean yourself from it. Don't sit there and say that this is some kind of cancer on the party and then do nothing about it. Who has cancer
and not give people,
you know what? I don't want any treatment. That's crazy.
Right. Well, and that, as you say, the method has to match. So you say, well, who are you addressing? What do you want to do about it? You know who partly disagrees with you, Michael?
Who?
Tucker.
Yeah, well.
Now, we don't just air just anything around here. But he makes a point about proportion, that whatever your views of him or others' views of him is a piece of this. So I want to resuscitate the fair part, not the other part, and that is, how do we deal, and you and I have discussed this before, with condemning without giving too much oxygen to one person or one theory. So take a little look at Tucker.
Just how dangerous is this three-named congresswoman you probably have never heard of? Well, so dangerous that in the name of democracy, she must be expelled tonight from the Congress. Why? Simple. Donald Trump is gone now. That's very bad news for the many people who made a living yelling at Donald Trump.
He's partly calling out the press and others, what he calls this Trump grievance industry. But there is a sliver of a question here that I'd love you to give us your final thought on. How do you do this right without letting it overtake everything? Because I think we could agree, condemn specifically, but also this is not the only thing going on in America.
It's not the only thing going on in America. Absolutely true. But look, you have a pattern of behavior. You have someone who is on the record perpetuating lies and conspiracies about our government, about elected members. She has clearly, when she campaigned for the office, did a poster which I absolutely know, folks on my side would take as threatening, if a Democrat had a poster of an AR-15 with 3 Republican members' faces on it, oh, I know they absolutely would be outraged from it. So we know what her pattern of behavior is. We know who her constituents are in terms of the QAnon community. We know where she's alive. So, yeah, you have to deal with that truth in that reality. And then when you layer that along with what happened on January 6th, we still don't know what she may have said or done. We know that people are concerned about what some members in the Republican Party may have done during that time period in terms of texting locations. We don't know. So there's a lot more here, but you got to deal with what's right in front of you at the moment. And that's all I think the American people are asking Republicans to do.
All key points. I'm only rapping you because I got Bon Jovi coming up.
I know, dude. Give my best to Bon Jovi, and I'll step aside.
Michael Steele, always really important clarity. I appreciate you, sir. Up ahead, the rock legend, the one and only John Bon Jovi. And why? George Floyd inspired one of these new songs on his 2020 album, American Reckoning, and new arrest at the Capitol riot. Trump, of course, facing a trial for that. But first, AOC getting emotional and personal on why she feared for her life. All that ahead. Stay with us.
Everyone is at risk for enamel loss. When you drink or eat something that's acidic, it sucks the minerals out of the tooth surface. Pronamel is formulated to help deliver minerals to the tooth surface to help reharden and strengthen your enamel.
I'm looking for my client. I'm his accountant.
I'm so sorry.
Hey, man! You're here! You don't trust me here in Vegas, do you?
Well, I thought we had a breakthrough with the Volkswagen.
We did.
Yes?
Yeah, we broke through.
That's the Volkswagen?
That's the crossport.
Wow.
Seatbelts. Just tell me where we're going.
It seems like everything is getting thinner. But my bladder leak pad, I thought it had to be thick to protect. But not anymore. Because Always Discreet is made differently. Unlike other pads, Always Discreet has ultra-thin layers that quickly turn liquid to gel and lock it inside. So I get strong protection in a pad I barely feel. Always protected, always discreet.
With so many new pet owners, your groomers can't keep up. You need to hire.
I need Indeed. Come on, guys.
Indeed you do. The moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database, so you can start hiring right away. Claim your $75 credit when you post your first job at Indeed.com/groomer.
Nicorette knows quitting smoking is hard. You get advice like, try hypnosis or quit cold turkey.
Kidding me?
Instead, start small with Nicorette, which can lead to something big. Start stopping with Nicorette.
We're done with disposables. Introducing super leak-proof underwear from Knix, the most absorbent period undies ever. They look and feel and machine wash just like regular underwear. Leave that trash behind. Switch to super leak-proof underwear at Knix.com.
This is what it looks like when Dave spots you $75. There's no interest and no credit check because Dave knows a little extra cash can go a long way. So don't wait. Download Dave now for your advance.
Why do I have life insurance? Because I want to make sure that these kids are always taken care of. My life insurance policy with Jenny Life gives me peace of mind. For $1 a day, I've got up to $500,000 in coverage. Visit JennyLife.com to get a policy in minutes.
Guys, as we get older, we all lose testosterone. With Force Factors Castex 180 works to boost it back, build muscle, increase energy, fuel desire, and improve performance. Rush to Walmart for Castex 180, the #1 fastest growing testosterone brand in America.
I'm hiding in this bathroom, hearing these yells of these men, or just this a man, just one man, going, "Where is she? Where is she?"
Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez sharing her most extensive account of how she was personally targeted during this Capitol Hill riot. There are new criminal charges that also highlight the very threat that she is recounting. and that other lawmakers, of course, face. In both parties, federal prosecutors have now charged 2 women for storming the Capitol. One of them who bragged, "We were looking for Nancy to shoot her in the brain, but we didn't find her." End quote. The feds also charge a rioter shown in a photo with Donald Trump, who was all the way inside the Oval Office, arrested over a week after the riot back near the Capitol and armed with a gun at the time. Meanwhile, the New Yorker has identified the rioter known as the Bullhorn Lady, who broke into the Capitol, helping coordinate movements during the ongoing criminal conspiracy in and around the building. She even told the New Yorker she was inspired by watching Trump allies after the election, saying, quote, "That was motivating to me. I learned a lot from Giuliani and people's testimonies." That rioter is actually still at large, wanted by the FBI while speaking out. We're going to continue to track the accountability and the evidence in all of this. Now, coming up, as promised, we have something very special. Rock and Roll Hall of Famer and icon Jon Bon Jovi makes his Beat debut. That's next.
What are you doing?
Art class.
It's abstract expressionism.
When you start with a better hot dog from Oscar Mayer, you can do no wrong. It's all for the love of hot dogs.
Repair your enamel with Pronamel Repair. Our most advanced formula helps you brush in vital minerals to actively repair and strengthen enamel. So you don't just brush to clean, you brush to build. Pronamel Intensive Enamel Repair.
This is what community looks like. Caring for each other. Protecting each other. And as the COVID vaccine rolls out, we'll be ready to administer it.
Welcome to the next level.
This phone paired with 5G ultra wideband. Wow.
The new Samsung Galaxy S21 is here, and it's on Verizon 5G ultra wideband, the fastest 5G in the world. Available in parts of many cities.
It's not just a great network.
It's ridiculously fast.
Stream your favorite shows in Ultra HD.
I'm so excited about this. Streaming is crystal clear.
Select unlimited plans, get the Disney bundle, and 5G included at no extra cost.
Yes.
Switch and get Samsung Galaxy S21 Plus 5G on us. Only on Verizon.
Ordinary tissues burn when Theo blows. So Dad bought Puffs Plus lotion and rescued his nose. With up to 50% more lotion, Puffs brings soothing softness and relief. A nose in need deserves Puffs indeed.
Before Nexium 24-Hour, Anna could only imagine a comfortable night's sleep without frequent heartburn waking her up. Now, that dream is her reality. Nexium 24-Hour stops acid before it starts for all-day, all-night protection. Can you imagine 24 hours without heartburn?
Did you know you can go to libertymutual.com to customize your car insurance so you only pay for what you need?
Really? Okay, I'm on vibe.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty. At Novartis, our goal is to help keep Cosentyx accessible and affordable. If you're taking Cosentyx and your insurance or coverage changes, or you need help paying, Cosentyx Connect is here to help. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor about an infection or symptoms if your inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen, or if you've had a vaccine or plan to. Serious allergic reactions may occur. Call us or visit us online. We're here for you.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call the experts at creditrepair.com for your free credit evaluation and game plan to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
I'm seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
At creditrepair.com, dreams do happen.
Thanks to creditrepair.com, I will be able to have a better credit score and get that house.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation and game plan to help get back on the track to great credit.
Call 800-293-4594.
We all have our own journey ahead of us, our own hopes and dreams. We'll pass many milestones, moments that define you and drive you to achieve even more. So celebrate every one, because success isn't just about where you want to get to. It's also about how you get there.
Cut on rehearsal.
The all-new 2021 Cadillac Escalade. Never stop arriving.
Mavericks with Ari Melber is brought to you by the next generation 2021 Escalade.
You hear him actually cry out for his mother. I did not realize that his mom had actually passed away 2 years ago. When you saw that, when you heard that, what did you think?
It hurt, man. It hurt because I knew that was a cry for help. I'm a black man, and I'm a strong black man, and I know Floyd. That's a cry for help. We don't scream our mother's name like that unless we know something is wrong and our life is in jeopardy.
George Floyd's friend, Stephen Jackson, a former NBA player, was reflecting there on the final moments as police killed Floyd. That's from an emotional interview on the Today Show. And while police brutality is a long-running issue in America, that Floyd killing did break through during the pandemic. It sparked those national protests and continued to elevate the BLM and police reform movement. Many people remember where they were when they saw the news or saw Floyd's friends and family reacting in that heartbreaking public grieving. And that also includes Jon Bon Jovi, whose 2020 album includes a searing song about Floyd's killing called American Reckoning. And he says that moment with Jackson that you just saw a piece of was actually a turning point for Jon Bon Jovi for him to write this song. And he talks about this in our new interview. So we'll start there. Here's a bit of that exchange airing right now for the first time. I just want to read from American Reckoning and hear from you about what you're telling us. You say, God damn those 8 long minutes, lying face down in cuffs on the ground. Bystanders pleaded for mercy as one cop shoved a kid in the crowd. When did a judge and jury become a badge and a knee? Tell us about that song.
You know, Ari, I had to take a position on this record. I wanted it to be that I were in your shoes or anyone else who is reporting news. So in essence, I said to myself, I am a witness to history. And much like anyone else who had the opportunity to watch the television or read the newspaper, we were all witness to history. And in the case of the death of George Floyd, there I was, a captive audience, watching the television, and was so taken by the moment and the graphic nature of the moment, both visually and the audio recordings. And the best way for me to express what I saw was through the songs. And American Reckoning took shape.
It's really powerful. You're recounting it as something that so many people shared in America and really around the world. How soon from seeing it, as we all did you know you were going to do a song?
I watched as his friend, the basketball player, was recounting to Craig Melvin on the Today Show that in his last words he was calling for his mom, and my eyes just welled up with tears. And it was that morning I just turned around. So this is a day or two later, and I went to my office and closed the door, and I just started writing. You know, when you're a songwriter, you could rhyme moon, June, and spoon. You can have light, easy moments about nothing and make people happy and make them dance. When you're a witness to history and you're talking about something that happened in the day and age in which you're living, you better get it right. But it is America's reckoning. You know, this time, the Black Lives Matter movement has really taken a hold around the globe. You saw the reaction in the streets worldwide.
Jon Bon Jovi has tackled many topics as a singer-songwriter, from rock and roll party tracks to those working class anthems that so many people love and remember. He's deeply involved in news and civic life and philanthropy. The Rock and Roll Hall of Famer also performed at Joe Biden's inauguration, singing the Beatles song, Here Comes the Sun. And in this brand new interview, we also touched on some of his new lyrics that actually dig into the problems of Russian election interference and online bots that try to undercut our democracy. Quote, "I'm no cable news reporter. They got nothing new to say. I'm the voice of the new order, the star of Anarchy Today. I'm the comments you keep reading at the bottom of the page. I'm real power. I'm a patriot. I'm a Russian hack by trade." Explain.
I think we're all fearful that it's bots and interference from foreign countries who are trying to influence the psyche of America. And that was the first song I wrote for the record. So it's technically August of 18 when I wrote that song. And I wrote it being critical of the last administration. And right on the first line, it says, "A storm is coming." It was a reference to Stormy Daniels. But as time went on, it went from being Manafort to Barr to Giuliani to Cohen is referenced in there, and then it becomes Giuliani. And, you know, it's like it didn't matter at what point, there was always blood in the water. There's still blood in the water circling the previous administration. It just seems that no matter what they said or did, that, you know, people were gunning for them, and you know, as we can see why.
Are you following the news a lot more than other periods in your life, or have you always been this into it? We're just learning about it more now.
I think I've always been a news junkie. My closer friends are all in news than they are in entertainment, believe it or not. I'm friends with a lot of your peers, and I try to be a student of current affairs as well as history. So I did pay attention, but I think that we, Americans, have really been sucked into the vortex of second-by-second news, whether it's the internet or television. You know, we have spent far too much time turning on the tube and watching the internet go by with every little tidbit, and not all of it is even verified news, and it becomes hearsay, and that becomes truth in the eyes of those who want to believe it.
How about that? I think plenty of news consumers and citizens can relate to what he's saying there. Now, this interview is part of our Maverick series, where we get to go deep with some artists and cultural icons. So we also had plenty of fun discussing classic Bon Jovi songs from It's My Life to Living on a Prayer, plus his philosophy on embracing aging, rejecting fads, and the true measure of success. Here are a few more quick highlights.
Do not succumb to fads and fashions. Unless you're true to who you are, it's not going to resonate. After a while, you don't measure success in album sales and #1 this, is, and that. Find your way. It can be done. I knocked on the door of a brand new radio station that was so new it didn't have a receptionist.
Do you imagine people playing that decades from now, wondering, gosh, what was that like when we lived through it?
You know, when you're a songwriter and you're talking about something that happened in the day and age in which you're living, you better get it right. And then my ultimate argument was, I'm the one that has to sing it. Argument was over. I'll never be 50 and painting my fingernails black. I'm near 60. Like Frankie said, I did it my way. And JVJ said, I did it my way too.
I believe we can all take some inspiration from that, an American rock icon. That's just a sampling. I encourage you to go ahead and check out the entire interview. It's long form, so we could really listen to what John Bon Jovi had to say. Go to msnbc.com/Mavericks. That's msnbc.com/Mavericks for the full conversation, as well as other recent installments of our exclusive digital series, Mavericks with Ari Melber. We'll be right back.
This is a historic moment. The first trucks carrying the vaccine pulling out of the Pfizer plant, escorted by U.S. Marshals.
In a split second, you saw the crowd rush the front towards the barricades and make their way up here.
It's hard to overstate just politically how major this is when you talk about the shifting tide here in the state of Georgia.
The moment to truly understand who we are and who we say we are is right here at our feet.
The Lexus ES, now available with all-wheel drive.
The
This rain is bananas.
Lease the 2021 ES250 all-wheel drive for $349 a month for 36 months.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
Want to build a gaming business that breaks the internet? That means working night and day and delegating to an experienced live bookkeeper for peace of mind.
Your books are all set.
So you can finally give John some attention.
Trusted experts, guaranteed accurate books. Intuit QuickBooks Live.
My body is truly powerful.
I have the power to lower my A1C.
Because my body can still make its own insulin.
And Trulicity activates my body to release it,
lowering my blood sugar from the first dose. Once weekly Trulicity responds when my body needs it 24/7. Trulicity is for type 2 diabetes. It's not insulin.
It isn't for people with type 1 diabetes. Don't take Trulicity if you're allergic to it. You or your family have medullary thyroid cancer or have multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2. Stop Trulicity and call your doctor right away if you have an allergic reaction, a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, changes in vision, or diabetic retinopathy. Serious side effects may include pancreatitis. Taking Trulicity with sulfonylurea or insulin raises low blood sugar risk. Side effects include indigestion, fatigue, belly pain, decreased appetite, nausea, diarrhea, and vomiting, which can lead to dehydration and may worsen kidney problems.
I have it within me to lower my A1C.
Ask your doctor about Trulicity.
Repair your enamel with Pronamel Repair. Our most advanced formula helps you brush in vital minerals to actively repair and strengthen enamel. So you don't just brush to clean, you brush to build. Pronamel Intensive Enamel Repair.
Time is running out to enter the Rocket Mortgage Super Bowl Squares sweepstakes. $50,000 every score change, plus $2 $500,000 grand prizes. Hurry up and enter for free at RocketMortgageSquares.com.
Asthma symptoms can attack anywhere. Get fast relief here with Primatene Mist. FDA approved and available over the counter for mild asthma. It works quickly to restore free breathing. Primatene Mist. Breathe easy again.
How great is it that we get to tell everybody how Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance? So you only pay for what you need. I mean, sorry. Oh, what? Honeymoo! No, buddy. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
This is keratin debris, where nail fungus thrives. Nonex Fungal Nail Clarifying Gel clears out keratin debris. 90% of nails significantly improve after using Nonex. Pick up Nonex today at Walmart, Walgreens, and Rite Aid.
As Carla wonders if she can retire sooner, she'll revisit her plan with Fidelity. And with a scenario that makes it a possibility, she'll enjoy her dream right now. That's the planning effect from Fidelity.
Stay restless with the icon that does the same. The RX, crafted by Lexus.
Lease the 2021 RX 350 for $429 a month for 36 months.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
Thanks for spending time with us on The Beat tonight and in general. I don't know about you. I feel like we're at least halfway there, right? So our thanks again to John Bon Jovi for making his Beat debut as part of our Maverick series. Again, you can go see the full interview at msnbc.com/Mavericks. I always like to tell you guys, one of the reasons we do this is it gives us more time. So the majority of the interview didn't air tonight. We showed you our highlights, but we get into a lot more on politics, on music, on songwriting, on doing it my way if you go visit the link for the full interview. I'll see you back here at 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. For one more music footnote, though, before I go, if you're on Instagram, you can follow me at Ari Melber. Tonight, we're doing an IG Live with DJ Drama. So you can go on Instagram at Ari Melber. We'll be taking your questions. It's way more interactive than this TV thing if you want to tune in. Otherwise, don't go anywhere right now. The Readout with Joy Reid starts now.
Good evening, everyone. We begin the readout tonight with the case for impeachment, both the legal argument and the visceral, emotional one, and the toll of the devastation of January 6th. In just 2.5 hours, the remains of slain Capitol Police officer Brian Sicknick will lie in honor in the rotunda of the United States Capitol. Officer Sicknick died from the injuries he sustained when he was hit in the head by members of the right-wing MAGA mob during the Capitol insurrection last month. Just 4 other private citizens have lain in honor in the rotunda, including 2 other Capitol Police officers killed in the line of duty, civil rights icon Rosa Parks and Reverend Billy Graham. Today, House impeachment managers laid out a searing argument for why the disgraced former occupant of the White House should be convicted by the Senate for his role in inciting the riot that led to the death of Officer Sicknick and 4 others. With an impassioned trial brief saying simply his responsibility for the events of January 6th is unmistakable, arguing the Senate can try the former president because his conduct endangered the life of every single member of Congress, jeopardized the peaceful transition of power and line of succession, and compromised our national security. Adding that instead of accepting the will of the American people, the man whose name we would love to excise from this show, Donald Trump, quote, summoned a mob to Washington, exhorted them into a frenzy, and aimed them like a loaded cannon toward the Capitol. Now, we know that's true from the former president's own words and video of that day, and we certainly know that the senators who will consider the case against him were, in fact, themselves witnesses to the events of January 6th. With the Senate chamber a crime scene, and many of those same senators who incited the riot themselves and those now defending his actions hunkered down in the same secure rooms with their colleagues. And in a frank testimonial shared on Instagram Live last night, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez shared the trauma of that day, highlighting the personal toll the Capitol insurrection took on her as she took cover in her office and then in a bathroom. The whole time she was gripped by the mortal fear that she might not survive.
Then I hear these huge, violent bangs on my door, and then every door going into my office. There were no yells, no one saying who they were, nobody identifying themselves, and just boom, boom, boom. I hide back in the bathroom behind the door. And then I just start to hear these yells of, where is she? Where is she? And this was the moment where I thought everything was over. I mean, I thought I was going to die.
Luckily, the person at the door was a Capitol Police officer who hadn't identified himself. And even then, she said the situation was so intense that it was hard to tell if he even intended to help her. But it's especially harrowing because there's no question of what that angry mob would have done had they found her first. Under the circumstances, she had every right to question who was at the door, given that since the moment that she and the rest of the squad ran and won, they've been turned into hate objects by the right, replacing the old Republican canard of obsessively attacking House Speaker Nancy Pelosi or President Obama. The Apprentice actor turned president and his minions on the media right have made vilifying AOC with sexist and racist attacks and insults an almost singular focus of the last 2 years.
We all know that AOC and this crowd are a bunch of communists. They hate Israel. They hate our own country.
AOC +3, you know AOC? Not a good student, not good at anything, but she's got a good line of crap, I'll tell you that.
They run that party, and they run the American left, and I'm going to let some young uppity come in here and upset the apple cart.
I use these words deliberately. She is a viciously dishonest person.
She's got a great line of that's about it.
Someday the AOC moment will pass. It's too stupid to continue.
Uppity. Oh, and did I mention that good old Margie Q. Green, posed with an assault rifle alongside images of the squad as her campaign for Congress. Her ad was so incendiary that Facebook took it down, and then a bunch of North Georgians elected her. Then, just as with Nancy Pelosi, AOC, President Obama, and the squad, the MAGA cult leader even put a big old target on his own vice president during the riots, during the rally.
I hope Mike is going to do the right thing. I hope so. I hope so. Because if Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election.
And later, attacking Pence in real time during the insurrection for not having the courage to overturn a Democratic election, to which the mob chanted, "Hang Mike Pence." In their impeachment response today, lawyers for the disgraced Florida retiree denied that he incited the riot and said the trial is unconstitutional because he's no longer president. They also say his remarks at the Ellipse rally that preceded the riot were free speech, protected by the First Amendment. Joining me now is Congresswoman Maxine Waters of California, chair of the House Financial Services Committee. And Congresswoman, it's always great to talk with you, but I specifically want to talk to you today because you have been where AOC is. As somebody who's been obsessively attacked by the right, vilified, treated to sexism and racism, because you've been an activist member of Congress since you've been there. We're watching you now back in the 1990s, after the insurrections in Los Angeles. Can you just tell us how you feel hearing somebody like Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tell that harrowing story, and also your own experience having to be in that Capitol on 1/6?
Thank you so much, Joy. As I listened to AOC, my heart went out to her because I know what she was experiencing, and particularly when she connected with the trauma that she had experienced when she was sexually abused. And so she described in a very vivid way what was happening with her when she heard them calling out, "Where is she? Where is she?" while she was hiding. And as she said, she thought that this was the end for her, that she could be killed. I know how she felt because I have been threatened also so many times, and you're absolutely correct. Because I took on this president early, I called for his impeachment early, I have been threatened time and time again. The Oath Keepers, who were part of the domestic terrorists who came to the Capitol and invaded our Capitol, attempted to come to my office in Los Angeles. They tried to organize other domestic terrorists to join them. My community discovered what was going on, and they turned up in big numbers. And of course, the Oath Keepers had a change of mind when they saw that the community was not going to stand for it. I had to put out a notice to all of my community to say, please don't come. Don't engage with the Oath Keepers. Don't allow them to get you involved in a confrontation, because I was trying to keep the peace, because I know that if they actually showed up and there was a confrontation, it would be bloody. And so it was not only been the Oath Keepers. As we went back and took a look at how many times I've been threatened and what has happened to some of these people, in April 2018, a man named Anthony Lloyd Scott got 3 years probation and 100 hours of community service for threatening to kill me. Of course, the Oath Keepers, as I mentioned, who tried to come to my office but was turned back, and they are very bloody, and they are white right-wing supremacists. Also, there was a Richard Mel Phillips in Florida who pleaded guilty to leaving a threatening voicemail message with my office. And so I discovered that he was also sentenced along with several others. This Anthony Lloyd Scott, who is a Trump supporter in California, pleaded guilty to threatening me in a voicemail. And so he also was sentenced. And so it goes on and on and on. I am, of course, accustomed to being threatened, but I have to be concerned about security, and I have to watch my back, and I have to make sure that I'm not putting myself in a position where I can be harmed. I have to know, where I'm going, when I'm going. oftentimes have security, had it all during my campaign, have to make sure that I'm not allowing people to walk behind me. I have to look out before I step out to see if there are any strange looking people loitering around, on and on and on. But I and other women, minority women in Congress, are often threatened, and we're at risk. And just as AOC was threatened that day, I was lucky. I was locked in my office. I would not leave it, even when they tried to get me to go to where they were gathering all of the members in one room. I'm glad I didn't because of the contagion that took place there and the members who ended up with, the COVID-19. But yeah, I recognize what she was saying and how she felt. And I know how I have to live my life. But what's so interesting about all of this is they try to make themselves the victim. When indeed they are following the President of the United States of America, who had advanced planning about the invasion that took place in our capital. And even there's information that some of the planning came out of individuals working in his campaign. As a matter of fact, he absolutely should be charged with premeditated murder because of the lives that were lost with this invasion, with this insurrection. And so, yes, we are threatened, but we can't back up. We've got to fight as hard as we can to see to it that there's some justice. For the President of the United States to sit and watch the invasion and the insurrection and not say a word because he knew that he had absolutely initiated it. And as some of them said, he invited us to come. We're here at the invitation of the President of the United States. When he rallied, he said, go to the Capitol, fight hard. This is take back your country. And so if that's not inciting the kind of violence that we have witnessed, I don't know what is.
Indeed, Congresswoman, I want to note for our audience that the Speaker of the House, who also was hiding under a table with some of her young staffers, I know a lot of the staffers who work for y'all are very young people, has issued a Dear Colleague letter. It says it's important to facilitate an accurate personal record, and for the healing process, it's also clear that we'll need to establish a 9/11 type commission to examine and report upon the facts, causes, and security related to the terrorist mob attack on January 6th. I want to thank you, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, for that, and please stay safe. Definitely, please stay safe, and thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I want to now...
I can to be safe.
Thank you very much. I want to now turn to Neil Katyal, former acting Solicitor General. And you heard the Congresswoman. And Neil, I mean, the reality is, you have Officer Sicknick lying in honor in the Capitol now because he was beaten to death by the rioters. That is the definition of a lynch mob. And the reality is, if they were willing to beat a police officer to death, imagine had they gotten hold of one of the people who've been made negatively famous by right-wing media and by the former president, Donald Trump, who made it his business to turn AOC, to turn Maxine Waters, to turn other members of the squad into hate objects. It's a lynch mob. So I want to just ask you about this defense for this lynch mob that the former president sent. The argument that's being made by the Trump side is that he cannot be impeached because he's no longer president, and that what he said in whipping up that crowd is free speech. I just want to note for the audience, this is the brief they're arguing against. This is this thick brief, which I'm going to spend the day reading, and this is their little 14-page response. Okay? Your thoughts, Neil, on their argument.
Exactly. So Donald Trump's lawyers and Trump are trying to distance themselves from this horrific attack. And it's like the January 6th mob is the only thing Donald Trump has ever made that he won't stick his name on in giant gold letters. And sadly for him, the upshot of those briefs is that this is what he's going to be most remembered for, Joy. And I absolutely agree with you. The briefs today just make this really, really stark and clear. And just starting with the writing itself, I mean, the House brief by the impeachment managers tells a story elegantly. It's an ugly story. It's an evil story, but it's linear and it tells the reader what she needs to know. And the Trump brief, by contrast, is schizophrenic. It's hard to follow. It misspells United States on the second line of the brief. It weighs in at 14 incoherent pages. And, you know, the upshot of that brief is they're trying to say Trump is engaged in free speech. I mean, give me a break. We've had presidents for 200 years. We've never had impeachment proceedings against them because presidents don't say the kinds of things that Donald Trump said. And I think the House managers captured it so well. And yesterday, as you were pointing out, AOC in an even more powerful way, a very visceral way. And I think that's the problem Trump has, is his lawyers are trying to make it out like he's just some crazy guy screaming at the TV. He's the president of the United States when this stuff is happening. And as Congresswoman Waters just said, while it's happening, what does he do? Nothing. If you were president, if I were president, any normal person on January 6th would have been horrified and done everything possible to stop it. This isn't free speech. This is incitement.
Indeed. And let me play you one of the more ridiculous other arguments that they're making. This is one of Trump's lawyers, David Schoen. And he's saying that video of the actual insurrection should not be shown in the trial. Take a listen.
Does this country really need to see videotapes? We know now, apparently, that Mr. Swalwell and the other managers tend to show videotapes of the riots and people calling in, people being hurt, police officers talking. Why does the country need that now? This has nothing to do with President Trump, and the country doesn't need to just watch videos of riots and unrest. We need to heal now. We need to move forward.
You know, I'm not a lawyer. You're the great lawyer here, Neil. But this strikes me as me telling a gang of my friends, go in there and rob that bank. And, you know, they go in, they rob the bank. Some people get killed in the bank robbery. And then I say, you know, it shows people being shot by my friends who I sent in there. I told them to go rob the bank. But we don't need to see that. That's traumatizing. That's just going to traumatize everybody. Don't show the video. Don't show the closed circuit video of what happened, because that's just going to make people upset. Like, that is not. Have you ever heard an argument like that?
Well, I've heard it only from people who are really afraid of the facts. And that's what this guy is. I mean, they're just afraid of showing what happened. I'm sure he's terrified of showing the Gabriel Sterling video, you know, the Georgia official on December 1st who went to the cameras and said, Mr. President, cut it out. Someone's going to get shot. Someone's going to get killed. What does Trump do? He goes and gives a bunch more speeches and says the kind of incendiary nonsense again and again and again. And that's the real problem. Some of this stuff you could say if you were an alien landing from Mars, the statements by themselves might look like speech. The problem is they come in a context of Trump egging this on, and after he's been warned by the Georgia election officials, no less, someone's going to get shot. It's going to be a fascinating trial, but it is going to be a trial with evidence, and that's why Donald Trump has a lot to fear.
Yeah, indeed. Some of that evidence is the person who's lying in honor in our Capitol right now, because these people are also cop killers. I think that they may not want to have to address that either, but they're going to have to. Neil Katyal, thank you very much. Really appreciate you being here this evening. And up next on the readout, as we were just talking about, you heard it. You've seen the briefs, the little one and the big one. It's now time for Republicans to decide. Are they going to be the party, you know, that has some honor, or are they going to be the party of bizarre conspiracies and Margie Q. Green, or what? Plus, Senator Sherrod Brown joins me on the Democrats' plans to go big on COVID stimulus, even if it means going it alone, and reversing Trump's sinister policy, the most sinister policy, the separation of migrant kids from their parents at the southern border, kids like 9-year-old Alvaro.
How old are you going to be?
9.
Are you hoping to get anything for your birthday?
Yeah.
What do you think you're going to get, or what do you want to get, buddy?
My dad.
The readout continues after this.
Because of the research that I've started to do on Ancestry, with documents, with photographs, I get to define myself through the scores of people who led to me.
Bring your family history to life like never before. Get started for free at Ancestry.com.
I think the sketchy website I bought this turtle from stole all my info.
Ooh. Have you looked on the bright side?
Discover never holds you responsible for unauthorized purchases on your card. That's my turtle.
Fraud protection. Discover something brighter.
My psoriatic arthritis pain, I had enough. It's not getting in my way. Joint pain, swelling, tenderness, much better.
My psoriasis, clearer. Cosentyx works on all of this.
4 years and counting. So watch out. I got this.
Watch me.
Real people with active psoriatic arthritis look and feel better with Cosentyx. Cosentyx works fast for results that can last. It treats the multiple symptoms of psoriatic arthritis, like joint pain and tenderness, back pain, and helps stop further joint damage. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor about an infection or symptoms. If your inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen, or if you've had a vaccine or plan to, serious allergic reactions may occur.
I just look and feel better.
I got real relief with Cosentyx. Watch me.
Feel real relief. Ask your rheumatologist about Cosentyx.
The Shark Vac Mod.
Feel real relief. Ask your rheumatologist about Cosentyx.
The Shark Vac Mod.
She'll enjoy her dream right now. That's the planning effect from Fidelity.
Stay restless with the icon that does the same. The R
of sugar, Premier Protein. Too good to be good.
Light up your new year with a top-rated Cadillac, or choose the most awarded automotive luxury brand for initial quality according to J.D. Power on 2020 models, or shine your brightest with an iconic Cadillac SUV or sedan and make every drive a celebration.
Current eligible lessees get this low-mileage lease on this 2021 Cadillac XT6 for around $459 per month. Visit your local Cadillac dealer today. When language learning gets hard, make it fun. Your head is exploding, your confidence eroding. Language learning is hard, so we made it fun.
Download Duolingo.
I attribute my hair thinning to excess stress levels. Nutrafol improves hair growth by targeting stress as a root cause. I have better resistance to stress. It's so rewarding. Learn more at Nutrafol.com.
I've always had a problem with sweaty hands.
My feet were so sweaty. The general sports bra area.
My upper lip and my forehead.
It was just stressful.
It's really been a tremendous struggle.
We don't just sweat under the arms.
So we created the Carpe line of sweat management products for all over the body.
I haven't had sweaty hands in 2 years since I started using Carpe.
Honestly, just completely changed my life.
Avoid expensive treatments, injections, and prescriptions. Get Carpe today with limited time savings of up to 30% off at mycarpe.com.
MoonPod, a breakthrough in relaxation that's quickly becoming the world's most popular beanbag. Our custom zero-gravity bead technology acts as your personalized cushioning system. MoonPod is the most comfortable place in the universe. Try yours today at moonpod.co.
Based on your conversations, are more of your members supportive of Green or Cheney?
Well, first of all, I've rejected those statements by Marjorie, and I think we're going to be talking tomorrow in conference. We're going to have an in-person meeting, in the Capitol, where we're going to be talking through a lot of these issues internally. Look, first of all, we're very united in our opposition to the devastating economic hits that President Biden has been doing in his first 2 weeks.
In normal times, that would not have been a tough question for Republican Congressman Steve Scalise to answer. You have two conservative lawmakers in the same party. One voted to uphold her oath and hold the president accountable. The other espoused conspiracy theories that a plane did not, in fact, hit the Pentagon on 9/11 and that the deadly school shootings at Sandy Hook and Parkland were actually staged. Now, of course, these are not normal times, and for this Republican Party, you are more likely to face repercussions for following the Constitution than for following QAnon. In fact, more House Republicans have been outspoken on the dire need to remove Congresswoman Liz Cheney from House leadership for voting to impeach than to denounce Margie Q. Green for her dangerous lies. In a rare move, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell jumped into the House Republicans' infighting, defending Cheney, calling her a leader with deep convictions and the courage to act on them, and adding that she is an important leader in our party and in our nation. And while not mentioning Green by name, which would count as courage in our present dystopia, he also said, quote, "Loony lies and conspiracy theories are cancer for the Republican Party and our country, and lawmakers who embrace them are not living in reality." Well, apparently that did not sit well with the Congresswoman from Not Living in Reality, North Georgia, who fired back, "Real cancer for the Republican Party is weak Republicans who only know how to lose gracefully." Joining me now is David Frum, senior editor at The Atlantic. And, you know, David, I feel like it crystallizes, like chef's kiss, perfect, crystallizes the state of the Republican Party, that the guy defending the party for not expelling the lady who thinks that Jewish people have lasers that they aim at California is also the guy who said that he's David Duke without the baggage and then got put in leadership. Because that's the thing that happens in the Republican Party. So I feel like the answer to his question is obvious. Of course they're going to support Margie Green over Liz Cheney, right?
Well, let's look at this without ethics, without morality. Let's just look at this the way a professional politician would, very cold-bloodedly from the point of gaining, holding, and using power. Republicans have a terrible trap, and it's expressed by a pair of polls from the state of Georgia. In the state of Georgia, Joe Biden's approval rating is now in the high 50s. The support for President Trump and the feelings about the Capitol coup are in the low 40s. It's pretty obvious where Georgia public opinion is. But among Georgia Republicans, 85% support President Trump, and the majorities are defensive of the attempted Capitol coup. And so Republicans are in this whipsaw between the voters they have and the voters they need. And that's the thing the DCCC, I never remember how many C's to use, is using right now, because that ad so many people watch this program have seen, where they are identifying people with QAnon, that's running in swing districts like Ventura County in California, like South Miami Beach and South Miami, where Republicans got lucky in 2020 and could get unlucky in 2022.
And just to make that exact point, running on the 2022 ballot in Georgia will be Raphael Warnock, who has to run again for re-elect, Kemp, the governor, who's being vilified by Trump as not flipping the election because he didn't flip the election, and Margie Green. They're all going to be running at the same time. So Georgia's going to get to have a referendum on whether they prefer the pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church or that lady in terms of who symbolizes Georgia. But I want to play it for you because I think you make a great point. Speaking of cruelly and viciously and just coldly using power, here's Mitch McConnell, Senate Minority Leader.
Well, with regard to the former president, we're going into an impeachment trial next week. We're all going to listen to what the lawyers have to say and making the arguments and work our way through it.
President Trump is 100% within his rights to look into allegations of irregularities and weigh his legal options. This process will reach its resolution. Our system will resolve any recounts or litigation.
We're going to have an orderly transfer from this administration to the next one. What we all say about it is, frankly, irrelevant.
And the point that's made there is that the first thing that he's responding to is the answer to the question, should he have spoken up earlier about the big lie about the election? He doesn't even answer it. He skips that question and goes on to something else. The Rob Portmans of the world who voted with Trump 99% of the time, who excused him, who pretended they didn't hear what he said, who pretended they can't read when Twitter happens. Isn't the problem that the party itself has laid down for the far right for so long, they don't know how to stand up anymore?
Well, McConnell was caught in a very specific quandary. Marjorie Green comes from the extreme upper left-hand corner of Georgia, the greater Chattanooga metropolitan area, an exurban district. And, of course, she won in November of 2020. Her corner of the state is one of the places where the voter turnout dropped most between November of 2020 and the runoff in January 2021. I mean, there's a real argument that she helped to cause the loss of the Senate in the 2 Senate seats in Georgia and helped to cost the Republicans the Senate majority. And McConnell, that has to be driving him crazy. On the other hand, he's worried now about even further losses if he drives people like that away. So it's really, he's got his fingers in one of those Christmas finger traps where, you know, you keep pulling and there's no way out.
Yeah, there is no way. And we are now confirming, NBC News has confirmed that Miss Marjorie Taylor Greene is currently meeting with the House Minority Leader, Kevin McCarthy. I'm not sure if he's giving her a high five, a hug, I don't know, but I highly doubt that he is reprimanding her. Just my guess. David Frum, thank you very much. Really appreciate you being here. And up next, congressional Democrats are pushing ahead with a nearly $2 trillion COVID relief package, even if they have to pass it with zero Republican support. Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown joins me next on The Readout.
I have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now, there's Skyrizi.
Things are getting clearer. Yeah, I feel free to bare my skin. Yeah, that's on me. Nothing and me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin. That's my new plan.
Keep your skin clearer with Skyrizi. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months. Of those, nearly 9 out of 10 sustained it through 1 year. And Skyrizi is 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
I see nothing in a different way. And it's my moment, so I just gotta say, nothing is everything.
Skyrizi may increase your risk of infections and lower your ability to fight them. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or coughs, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Now is the time to ask your dermatologist about Skyrizi.
Whoa. I'm in love with Premier Protein Caramel. This sweets person is like, I can do this. With 30 grams of protein, 160 calories, and just 1 gram of sugar, Premier Protein, too good to be good.
Nature has a way of teaching us to see things differently. It's taught us that the little things are actually the big things, and that against all odds, we're connected to it all. Because home is not just the room we're in, or the people we love, but the planet we're on. And it needs us just as much as we need it. Come visit us at avocadogreenmattress.com.
Zesty Paws makes chewy, functional supplements like Aller'immune Bites and Probiotic Bites, all with proven ingredients to keep your bestie feeling zesty. Buy top-rated Zesty Paws at these fine retailers.
Wow, that's a low price.
Oh, wow, that's a low price.
What? Ooh, that's a low price.
You're so good at low prices.
Yeah.
Circle back on that later.
That's a low price.
Damn, you're asking me, buddy.
No, low price.
Dog life.
Low price.
That's a low price. I'm gonna get it.
With everyday low prices at Amazon, anytime is a good time to save.